Hello and welcome to the Dynamics AX Help YouTube page. It's a place where you will learn important concepts that apply to Microsoft Dynamics 365 for finance and operations, as well as some earlier versions of the software. It's also a place where you'll find important tutorials, lessons that apply to just about any industry. So if you're new to D365 or you're venturing into more modules that you're not fully trained on, use this page as a resource. But don't forget, hit the subscribe button, and thank you for joining.
I'm going to start out with a sales quotation. So if you're looking specifically for the sales order, then skip ahead. The sales quotation precedes sales orders, and not every organization uses sales quotations, but if you do, this is a way to send a quote to the customer. You can negotiate those terms, and if they agree, then you can confirm the sales quotation, and then that will transform it into a sales order. It ends the quotation process and begins the actual sales order process. So to get into the sales quotation, we're going to go into the sales and marketing. So we're going to click on modules, and I'm going to look for the sales and marketing module. And under here, I'm going to look for sales quotations, and I'm going to go into all quotations. I'm going to click new on the upper left hand corner. And we're in the Contoso entity. So this is a standard environment that Microsoft provides. So I want to bring a few things to your attention. When you're creating a sales quotation, you can create a quotation for a prospect that you have already pre-created. So a prospect is an entity or someone that you don't have a true relationship with yet. They're not your true customer. You want them to be a customer. They're a prospective customer. So you can create a prospect record, which I will probably cover that in a separate video. But for now, I will just say we're going to change the account type to customer. We're going to use a customer account that already exists. So here I'm going to, I changed the account type to customer. Then I'm going to select the customer account number, and I can pull up the various customer accounts that are available by clicking on the drop-down menu, and I'm going to see the customer account, the name, there's a search name, and there's other information here that would be important if, let's say, you have a customer that has locations in various parts of the country or world, and they may have different accounts. So let's do a search. If you know the customer account number exactly, you can key the value in or do a character search. And let's see if I can find something that contains this word here, or let's say matches. All right, so you can search on the various customers here. I'm just going to pick a random number and we'll just continue with that. So our customer account is US-019. I'm going to select that account. Now this is a demo environment, so the performance on here is going to be slow, so just keep that in mind. Okay, so here I'm going to select a contact if there is a contact defined. There is not a contact defined on this customer account, therefore it's not going to show on this list. But if I do have contacts on the customer account, I would be able to select which contact I am working with in this quotation. So here we have the address detail, and this is the default primary address that's associated with this account. That will be our delivery address, and I'm going to leave that as is. The other information, I'm not going to enter it on this form. We're going to wait until we create the document, and we'll go through the some of the important fields in more detail. So let's click OK, and it's going to create our blank sales quotation. Okay, so great. So we have a sales quotation, and this is the sales quotation number. And we're going to go into the header. And so this is like the mini view of the header. I want to click on header here, where you see my mouse, and I'm going to see the actual header detail of the sales quotation. So I'm going to bring your attention to the General tab. In the General tab, there's a number of things that are important to set up that I'll do right here. It's not required, but if you know, for example, if you're an organization and you know exactly where you want to fulfill the inventory from, I would select the warehouse. And by default, when I select the warehouse first, the site will also populate automatically. Here you'll notice there's a customer account. This is the account to which we're delivering. You also have the option of having an invoice account where the billing will be going to. And in many cases, your customer and invoice accounts will be the same. However, some organizations are multi-layered and they'll have different invoice accounts than their actual customer accounts. But for now, we're going to keep the invoice and customer accounts the same. Okay, so I've got the warehouse and site specified. If you were doing more detailed sales management, which I'm not covering here in this video, you have some other fields here that would be important for you to keep note of. And if we had a prospect instead of a customer account, we would see the prospect account, the prospect ID number here. All right, so let's take a look at the Setup tab. There's some important fields in here. There is, let's say, a sales tax group, and the sales tax group is an important field if you are calculating sales taxes automatically. It's based on some important setups, whether you are using the intrinsic sales tax capability that ships with D365, or if you're integrating with a partner such as Avalara, CCH, and the list goes on. And you also have the option to say that the prices that you list in the sales quotation will include sales tax, which we're going to leave that option as no. And to be honest, I don't know for sure if I've got any sales tax configured in this environment, but we will find that out very shortly. All right, some other important information that you'll see in the Setup tab is the sales taker, and you're going to see my information here, sales responsible. Sales responsible is, let's say, if you have a sales rep, or someone that's going to be getting the commission for the sales. The sales responsible would be the person that would be receiving that commission. Here you can also specify the origin of the sale. So if you are an omni-channel where you're taking orders by phone or mail, let's say you have an integration with Amazon or eBay, or you've got catalogs, these are values that you can specify here to indicate where the sale is originating from. Of course, if you were on e-commerce, you wouldn't necessarily get a sales quotation here. So you're just going to see the drop-down values here, but it wouldn't apply to some of the channels through which you sell. All right, so let's take a quick look at the address. So the delivery address is going to be important, especially when we think about the shipping process. So right now we're just capturing the quotation, which will eventually turn into a sales order, but we want to ensure that we capture the correct address before the quotation is confirmed and the sales order is created and is dispatched or released to the warehouse for picking. You've got to get the right address in there. All right, some other fields, and I'll move a little quickly through this because I want to also mention that a lot of the settings that you're putting in here, the majority of them will carry over into the sales order. So let's look at delivery. The delivery is also important. Here you set the requested receipt and requested ship dates. And this is information you would capture from the customer. Now, you can also use delivery date control to determine whether or not or how soon you can actually provide or ship this item to the customer. And you have different options available. You've got lead time, sales lead time. This is based on either the default order settings that you've got set on your product master. You can look at the available to promise plus an issue margin, which is like a padding that you put in to indicate how much additional time you might want to just kind of ensure that you don't overpromise on your dates. And then there's CTP. All right, then we have the mode of delivery, which will indicate how you intend to deliver the product, right? How you intend. So this could be through air or freight or parcel or a full truckload. Or ocean, right? So these are the options that you set, and you define what these modes are actually. And then the other thing, which is also important to note here, is the delivery terms. These are the delivery terms that indicate ultimately who is responsible for the payment of the freight charges or the shipping charges associated to this. So in most people will refer to these as the Incoterms, right? International contract terms. And for domestic, we also put in the domestic terms here, such as prepaid add, prepaid do not add, etc. And then we have some other fields here. All right, I'm going to look at the price discount briefly, and then we're going to move ahead into the actual line. So here you want to set the default currency. Normally you set this on the customer record, so it defaults in. So this is why this is already preset. You got the cash discount, right? If they pay within a certain time frame, they may get this discount. They would get this discount or be eligible for it. And then you've got the payment terms associated to this account. So now, if there is a discount, a total discount, this is a total discount group, and there's some more discount fields. And if there's a charges group, for example, if you're going to have automatic charges, then your charges group would be populated here. Okay, so now let's actually start adding a couple lines to the sales quotation. All right, so immediately Dynamics sees that I've got a date that's in the past. So let's go ahead and update that information. So I'm going to, let's say, I'm going to update my dates. I'm going to plug this value in, and I'm going to change my requested ship date. I'm not using the deliver date controls here. Okay, so requested ship by January 28th and requested receipt by the 31st. There's a lot of things that also influence the dates and how to calculate dates that we won't go into this particular session, but keep in mind that there are default values that you can set either at the warehouse level or customer level that will influence the dates. All right, so let's go ahead and add some items. I'm going to add 2 lines. Do this item here, A0001. I've added an item A001. I'm going to put in a quantity of 10 units. The sales unit is saying pieces, so I'm going to keep that as is. It's going to be allocating from site number 2, warehouse 24. And if there was a price predefined on the item master, the release product for this item, I would have gotten the value defaulted into this field. But because there's not a price, I'm going to key in a value. So the unit price here, I'm going to enter 25.99. And I could say that, okay, I want to give a discount, the discount value. So that would take $10 off. I want to give a discount percent of 10. And I should see now the extended or the net amount. Okay. So in Dynamics, we also have the margin alert, so we can see right away what the estimated margin is going to be. And the margin is going to be based on the cost. What's the cost you to get this item versus what you're selling it for. I'm going to add a new line. I'm just going to kind of put my mouse on this first line here. I'm going to arrow down and automatically will insert a new line. And let's select, I'm going to select this item here. So for this item, I'm going to enter in a quantity of 4. I would like to take a quick look at the inventory unit of measurement for this. So I want to select the item number itself, and I want to click into the item master. And I'm just going to verify. So the inventory unit is each. You see, automatically I got a unit of pallets, PL. And I want to, I'm not going to sell this item by pallets. I want to sell it in eaches. So I want to override that unit of measurement here and hit the tab button just to register those changes. And all right, so let's enter a price for this. So we're going to say we're going to sell this for, let's say, 150 per piece, and there's no discount on this. And this item is a configured item, so we may need to enter a variant, and the first thing we need to put in is the color. So we're going to go into sales quotation line and display dimensions. I want to see the color dimension, so include that. And while I'm at it, I'm going to select these values here just so that in case there are additional product dimensions that it requires, I'm going to see them right away. So I'm going to hit OK. I'm going to save the setup, yes, and press OK. And I'm just going to do a quick refresh. And it's still, it really wants this information. I'm going to hide the sales category. So I'm going to do a quick right click and hide this column. Hide the catch weight quantity and catch weight unit. I'm going to hide that. Okay, so we see here it's calling for the color product dimension. So I want to select what color are we quoting for. So I'm going to select the black. And I don't want to update the prices, so let's, okay. All right, so now we've got the variant number. Once we plug that color in, it knows what variant number, and this is because we're using the product dimensions here. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and save the quotation. Let's say I want to add a standard shipping and handling charge. I can do that here at the header level, right, if the charge is going to apply to all the lines, the entire sales quotation. Or you can have charges assigned at the line detail level. I'm going to make the charges on the header. So I'm going into this menu that you see up top here. This is referred to as the action pane. I'm going to click on quotation, and then I'm going to go into maintain charges. And I'm going to select that. And I want to select the charge code. And the charge code is important because it determines who is going to pay. Is this a charge that's going to be billed to the customer, or is it something that your organization is going to absorb, right, into a ledger account, for example? So I'm going to go ahead and select freight, and we're going to put the charge value, let's say, of for shipping, let's say we're going to do $25. And I'm going to click save. All right. All right, so if our quotation looks good, if there's nothing else that we need to add in here, so we've just got these two items. We've got the prices, we've shown a discount for the first line. So let's go ahead and save the quotation. In most cases, the records are automatically saved, but it's a good practice to hit the save button. Sometimes you're working with, let's say, a partner solution / ISV solution where they may not have an autosave capability built into what they've added to D365. All right, so now on the quotation, I want to go ahead and click send. So now the word itself could be misleading because it's not actually, when I press this button, it's not automatically sending anything to the customer unless I give it the option to do that through the print management screen, which we'll see show up in a second. So I can go in here, so it says send quotation. So I can go into printer setup and I can say, well, what do you want, how do you want me to print? Do you want me to print it to screen, which is what we're going to do in most of what we do on this in the session, or do you want to send it to a printer? So if I have network printers connected, I can select the printer. Right? At this point, there are no printers. Or you can send it to a file where you can tell the file format that you want it to send it to. So you can save this onto your local machine as a CSV file, an Excel file, a PDF file, etc. Or you can actually send it to the customer's email. So this could pull in the customer address from the customer record itself, that if you have customer addresses defined, email addresses defined, you can select, let's say if you've got a business email address, the purpose is business or invoice or other, as an example, you could select that and it would bring that as the customer address. And then you can put in additional email addresses here, which is pretty cool. So it will just basically bring these placeholders in to actually send the email based on whatever addresses are defined as business or invoice, etc. And this is a system-wide capability, so you're going to see this across multiple forms when you're ready to do print settings. I'm going to do print to screen right now, and I'm not going to save it to the print archive. So let's go ahead and press OK. And this is just showing me an overview. Do I want to print the quotation? Let's say yes. When does it expire? This is a value that's set on the sales quotation header that I didn't cover, but you can set when the quotation expires. And you can look at the line detail if you want, right? So you could, let's say, remove some items from the line, but we're going to keep everything as is here. And then I'm going to press OK, and we'll see what the standard sales quotation report would look like. And this is what you would send to the customer to present your quotation. Okay, so here is the sales quotation document, and this is what the standard document would look like. Of course, you can replace it with your company logo. It's going to show the customer's name, the address. There's a quotation number, the details of the quotation, the dates, the payment terms, the items itself, the quantity, the shipment dates, prices, and here's the 10% discount that we added in. And we'll also see the total amount, including any charges. So remember, we added in the charges for shipping. So you're going to see that information on this document. And I'm going to send this, export this to, let's say, a PDF so you can see it better against a white background. So I'd save the document to my local drive. Alright, so here is what the document will look like printed out on paper. So this is in PDF form, and you could simply export this document to PDF and attach it as an email. So our quotation is considered sent, and you'll see the status updated here. The next step would be sending the document to the customer either in an email or fax. I think most people send it as an email attachment if they're not sending it directly through Dynamics 365. So once the customer responds, you can go ahead and, let's say, if you negotiate the price, you can, reduce the price or maybe increase the discount some more, and then make those changes and resend. And then when you're done, you can go ahead and, if you've lost the quotation, you can click on Lost Quotation, which will update the status to lost. You can cancel it, or you can confirm it. So we're going to go ahead and confirm, because we're going to look at the process of how the sales order is automatically generated. We're going to go into the action pane, go under follow up where it says generate. We're going to click on the confirm menu item. You can print the confirmation document, the version that shows what the quotation is, what the items were, what the prices were. Let's take a quick look, and let's say yes, and let's have that just print to screen. Just go ahead and look at the printer setup. By default, it's going to go to screen. I'm going to click OK, and let's go ahead and print that sales quotation confirmation. This is also posting the confirmation, which will create the sales order automatically. The key difference between this document and what we previously sent to the customer, you see the word confirmation here, but the contents are pretty identical. And again, this is just the vanilla basic format of the document, and a lot of my clients go ahead and update the logo, and they may add or remove some details from here. Alright, so we see that the confirmation has been confirmed, so you'll see the status update as well. And we now have a sales order that has been automatically generated. Let's find the sales order that was generated. Under the action pane, under General, I want to click on Related Information, and then we're going to select the Sales Orders button. Alternately, you would also find a reference to the sales order by looking at the General tab on the Sales Quotation header. So we see that sales order number 935 was automatically created. Okay, so we are going to end the sales quotation and resume in the next section of this video with the sales order.